I do have one of the Tom Ford quads. Hazy Sensuality is today's quad, and I did order all three of them. They're not all here. The Hazy Sensuality is here. The other two are not. And surprise, I mentioned this on Instagram, I am going to be giving away one of the Hazy Sensualities and the Dior Eden Rock, although the Dior Eden Rock will not have a box, just so you guys know. But I am going to be giving those both away as just a thank you to all of you for watching, subscribing, using my links, being so nice to Harper. He is on the mend, but he has pancreatitis and it's just going to take some time. So I have not slept in like 3 days. And so I know I look a little rough, but I will say that, spoiler, the Hazy Sensuality made me feel a little bit better. So let's talk about this quad. First, we're going to just talk about like what it is. Then I'm going to show you how I did this look. And they're actually two different looks, you can tell. In a minute, you can tell. And then we'll go into comparisons with other quads at the end. So this is Hazy Sensuality. This is a wet dry formula, which is what Tom Ford is known for in his quads. It is a cool toned pinky quad. It retails for $90 here in the US. You can get it cheaper overseas, but of course it does take a while to get to you, and of course you have to pay for shipping, so it just kind of depends on how everything works out. I'm usually a bigger fan of the creme formula. The wet dry formula isn't my favorite because I like having more depth in my eyeshadows. In other words, I like having a matte that I can deepen a look with, and I like the creme formula because my eyes are dry and older. And so the creme formula works really well for me. However, that being said, let's just get right to it. I really like this quad. I'll give you my final thoughts when we go through the eye look and all the details, but I am surprised at how much I actually like this because I don't usually like cool toned quads. Pink is not my thing, but this one is actually very nice. And maybe the reason I like it is the reason that other people will not like it. Again, we'll get into that as we go through the demo. But let me first show you on this eye. This is all the shades applied dry. And again, I have a whole piece of this video that'll show you how I did that. And then this eye I did wet. Now I think you can tell there is a pretty distinct difference between the wet side and the dry side. The wet formula, when you use this particular quad, is impressive. And the pink in here, first of all, is like the deepest, strongest pink, purpley pink, that I've seen in a while. It's impressive. No patchiness, no issues, no problems with the formula. It did exactly what it was supposed to do, and it looks really nice. I have a little bit of mascara on the inner of my, I'm sorry about that, my lashes are so long. Yeah, I know you don't care. But, and the shininess that you're getting, like the reflectiveness from here, you also get it on this side, but much more in the wet, is a combination of this shade here, which is like the pinky shiny shade, and this shade here, which is a brighter, almost platinum, which is on the inner corner. And those shades, and I put a picture up over on Instagram, and I'll pop it up right now, are very similar when you swatch them dry. They're really not that different when you swatch them dry. However, there is a difference on the eye because on the dry side, when I put it on the lid, it's the pinkier one, and on the inner corner, it's the brighter, almost platinum one. There is a difference dry. But wet, there's definitely a difference, and you can see it. So, is it drastically different? No. Is it different? Yes. But, and I'll get into what I would have preferred when we get into final thoughts. But I do think actually it's really pretty. Trust me, guys, I did not want to like this. So, yeah. Anyway, and the brown is deep enough that you can actually get some depth, which you know, is something I usually complain about. So, $90, wet dry formula, cool leaning. Formula is excellent. And when we get to the comparisons, we'll see if it's really unique. So let's go into the application of the dry and wet look, and then we'll move on to comparisons with other quads. All right, now we're at the trying it on the eye phase of the video. So As you saw, hopefully the intro went up and I showed you the swatches, and then after this we'll talk about comparisons. You can see that these two shades are very similar in nature just by swatching. And this one is like a very rosy pink, and this is like a nice neutral brown. The thing about the wet dry formula, I find a lot of the time, is that you don't necessarily have a grounding shade sometimes. So what I'm going to do on this eye, I'm going to go in with it dry. In this eye, I'm going to apply all of them wet. This is the wet dry formula. And let's just see what it can do. As I hopefully mentioned also in my intro, I know I don't look particularly great. If you don't follow me on Instagram, my dog Harper has been very sick. He has pancreatitis and he's on the mend, or at least we're getting him better, but he's not sleeping at night, so I'm not sleeping at night. So I have a lot of extra blush on because this is the only way I'm gonna look somewhat okay. All right, so let's take this, let's take the really brown shade, the brown shade that's in here. And again, we're gonna do dry on, hopefully I said, let's do dry on this eye. This is a pretty, deep brown. I am using a natural haired brush, so you're gonna get more payoff with it, which is good. I would suggest with the Tom Fords, with the wet dry, if you're looking for more impact, to do that. That's gonna give you some depth there, at least on my skin tone. It's deep enough, I think, that it will work for numerous folks. It's certainly not a super deep color, but there's definitely some intensity there, at least with a natural hair brush. My eyebrows look funky today, but that's okay because I'm half awake. That's what happens. Your brain just does not, my brain is not engaged. My brain is like, go back to bed. So then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the pink shade and kind of go in that crease, like over it, but more precisely, because I'm not a huge fan of, like the pinky shade, but I'll use it all over the eyelid on this side wet so we can see what it, can do. But I'm gonna intensify the crease with this pink. Now you can see it definitely, how pink that is. I mean, you can see that. It's actually quite pretty. It's not my shade, like it's not the shade that I love, but it is looking for pink. I'm just going with this is nothing on this brush, like absolutely nothing. I'm just kind of cleaning up that line, just kind of pulling it a little up into the brow, because I'm not going to use either of the very shiny shades on my brow area. I tend not to. I like to use a matte, and I'm just kind of blending it into the eyelid just a little bit, but I'm keeping the eyelid pretty bare. Because the shade that's my favorite, well, I don't know if it's my favorite, but this one here is like a really nice, almost like rosy pink shade. This one's brighter. And I'm gonna see, let's see what it does on the eye. Like, let's see, again, this is dry, what I can get from it just by itself. Oh, that's actually nice. Okay. I mean, this isn't, again, I'm using natural hair brushes, but you get a very shimmery look from that. If I go back over with the pink, yeah, if you're somebody who likes like rosy pink. All right, and then I'm gonna take my finger and take the really bright shade, Platinum. Put that on like the lid itself, and then I'll also put it on the inner corner. Yeah, it's a very like eye brightening shade. You can see like how much lightness it adds to the eye. I would take the brown shade, the shade I started with, and use it as liner. I'm not going to use the pink shade as liner because pink on the lid or in the crease I can do, but to line my lids, just not, it's not a good look for me. Not with my hair color. All right, that's the finished look on the dry eye. I'm just patting in the middle shade. I actually think it's nice. It's very cool leaning. The pink takes over the look. I think the brown shade in here, I'm just gonna see if I can intensify, can actually give you some depth to this one. But again, yeah, it can. You can deepen that up. But I mean, it's one of those things that the wet dry formula is usually, if you're looking for like the depth part of it, you use it wet, like for a more dramatic look, or you're not really looking for that. Now, I haven't received the other quads in this collection yet, the peach something and the peach dawn and golden hour. I don't have those yet. I will do a side-by-side with all of them when I have all of them, but I do have the Hazy Sensuality now, so I felt like I was like, you know what, let's look at it and see what we think. All right, so let's go to the other side, try it with a wet brush and see what we come up with. All right, I am going to use my Hourglass brushes. I really like my Hourglass brushes. Take some mixing medium. And what I'm going to start with is this pink shade, like on the lid. I usually do this with like a little corner of the shade. I don't like dip it into the whole color, so I kind of just like do a little teeny corner. And then, oh yeah, that's intense. That's pink. But if you like pink, wow, okay. Are you a pink person? Are you somebody who really likes pink? Like rose pink? I'll blend it out a little bit, but that's pink. I'm gonna go in with the crease brush from Hourglass. Same shade, I haven't changed the shade. I'm just like shaping. Oh yeah, okay. See, now this is why people like the wet dry formula. Again, I'm not as like, the wet dry formula is not my favorite. I like the creme formula, but it's preference. But you can see like the intensity of the pink there versus the intensity of the pink here. Definitely you can still see the pink as I put it on, and of course I put other shades and I blended it. But if you use this thing wet and you like a cool tone, like almost like purpley pink, I mean, it's there. All right, so let's take a little bit of the brown, and I mean a little of the brown, because I want, you know, I think this pink is an unusual shade. The brown is not an unusual shade. I mean, it's pretty, but, you know, I don't think, the brown is not like the highlight. I'm just kind of like deep in the outer corner here. The best way to do this, by the way, is let the, you know, shade like dry down a little before you put the other shade on top of it, unless you want the two to blend. It's like watercolors, kind of, you know? If you've never played with watercolors, basically, if you put them down at the same time, they're going to blend together. If you wait a moment, let it dry a little bit, it almost gets, I don't want to say immovable, because it's immovable, but it sort of sets, and then you can put the other color like on top. Does that make sense? I'm not making a lot of sense, guys. I know that. I am so tired. Okay, so let's take my quote favorite shade, the very bright, where is my brush? Oh, here we go. It's not like bright, it's just like a pinkish, the one that I used all over the lid here. Let's use that like just in the center. And what I do is I kind of like rub my brush, hopefully you can see this, like just in the corner here, get it like, you know, well, like I don't have a lot of, you can use whatever you're going to use, mixing medium, whatever, but I don't use a lot. I just use a little bit. And let's just, I mean, I think you can see it's like a metallic. Look at that. That's impressive. Okay, Tom Ford. I like this more than I thought I would. That's saying a lot. And let's use that very bright shade. I mean, it was bright over here, dry. Let's try it. Yep. Well, I like this far more than I thought I would. Now, I don't know if it's my favorite of the three because I only have this one, so I can't, you know, speak to that, but I mean, that's impressive. I mean, obviously similar looks, you know, because it's the same quad, but this is much more intense, more metallic. And here you have a lighter, softer. I also did a different shape. I mean, it's not the same, you know, obviously. All right, so let me put on some mascara, and then we'll come back and talk about comparisons. Okay, so now you see how I got this look. And I really have to say, like, all joking aside, I didn't want to like this because it is a little, not annoying, but I was kind of like, okay, the shades look very similar. It's pink. I don't want any more pink. But it's very different than I thought it was going to be, and the formula is really good. That's what always gets me. Like, if it's not my color story, but it could be someone else's color story, I'll always say to all you guys, hey, it's not necessarily for me, but at least the product is good. This product is good. This is what wet dry is supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to be able to get. And actually, I really like the look. And again, I'm slightly annoyed with myself. All right, so let's swatch this. And you'll ask me, you'll be like, well, why are you annoyed? Because it's $90. And $90, I mean, that's a lot of money, especially in this economy. So, you know, I'd love to be able to tell you guys, yeah, it's not worth your money, but I don't think that. I do think it's, quote, worth the money. What's really worth $90 for eyeshadow? But if you're gonna buy one and, you know, you're spending that anyway, like if that's your price point, I think this is a good one. And if you're somebody who likes like a cool color story, yeah, this is really nice. I haven't gotten the other ones yet, so, you know, I can't say that this is the best one or anything else. I can just say how this one's performing. Okay, so that is, put it up like that. That is the new one, Hazy Sensuality. Kind of reminds me of the formulas of old from Tom Ford. All right, so now let's do Insolent Rose. There are similarities in the look of it. Let's be honest, guys. With the collection, at least that I have at this point, I mean, there's going to be something. I have to assume there's going to be something that is similar to it because you can only make so many shades. So really it's about formula and different types of, you know, like finishes. Like this one in Insolent Rose, this is not one of my favorite quads because it's so pink. But what I will say about it is the pink sparkly shade that's in here is actually very pretty on the eye. It's just, you know, it was too pink for me, and you'll see when I swatch it why that's true. So you see the difference between these two? First of all, the brown that's in here is a much cooler brown, and it's not as impactful. The pink is almost more like peachy pink, where this one is like a plummy pink. And then this shade here, which is really pretty, this sparkly shade, it really has to go on as a topper. That's what it is. It's a topper shade. This is a great bone shade, by the way. Brow shade, bone shade. It's bone, yes, but it's a brow shade. And it's very pretty, but what you end up getting is like, really like a combination of these two shades, which is a very cool toned pink, and then the sparkly shade on top. Again, it's very nice, it's very subtle, but not my favorite quad, and not my favorite formula, frankly. Okay, nude dip. Sorry, my nude dip is like filthy. Ooh. But it's because I use it a lot. Nude dip is a good nude. You know, it goes with a lot of things. I don't think on the surface it necessarily looks just like it, but I think in color story when we swatch it, I think it will. It is also wet dry, so you're able to achieve that more impactful look with it. And it is a great, I mean, it's like one of my favorite quads, which is why it's kind of dirty. You know, I really should be better about like cleaning these from time to time, but my schedule, yeah. Okay, so there's Nude Dip. So like I said, the color story, you know, obviously this pink, this plummy pink does not exist in Nude Dip, but I think we're gonna see that it's kind of like you took Nude Dip. I think somebody said Nude Dip and what was it? First Frost? Or maybe it's Insolent Rose. Maybe it's this one, but had a baby and had, you know, Hazy Sensuality. You wouldn't be wrong. But you can see this brown in here is much cooler, is much more gray toned. This one has more warmth to it, which is, I think, actually one of the reasons I like this more. And this is a very taupey shade. And then the two shades here, the satiny shades, yes, they are very similar to what is in Hazy Sensuality. I think they're a little deeper, but they're very close. You know, you guys have a good eye. All right, this is First Frost, which was very popular. I do like this one. It is nice. The Soleil collection, Soleil Fou? I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that. If I was more awake, I would look it up, but I'm not. Should be out soon, so we should be able to see those. I hope they're nice. They look nice. All right. First Frost, I think, is probably one of my favorite ones from the, like, I call it the white packaging collection. Yeah, you know, gets simplistic when you have a lot of things. Okay, so again, here's the new one. Here's Hazy Sensuality. Here is Insolent Rose. Here's Nude Dip. And here's First Frost. I think you can see that there is definitely, if you took the two shades here from Nude Dip, and then the pink shade and that shade from First Frost, yeah, I think you'd get Hazy Sensuality. It's not quite the same. Look, this pink is like in First Frost, it's a lighter, cooler pink. This is a plummier, deeper pink. It's an unusual pink, actually. I think that's why I like it. When you watched me put it on the eyelid, you could see what I'm talking about. Like it's a more intense, nuanced pink. It's not like a baby cool, although this is a gorgeous rose gold pink, don't get me wrong. But it's not like this, it's not like a peachy pink. It's not like a bright baby pink. It's, I don't know, it's a little bit different. I like it. Just saying a lot because I don't like pink. All right, so Honeymoon, I'm gonna hold up, but I'm gonna hold it up very carefully because it's kind of broken. I've had this for a long time. This is the one that I first thought of when I first saw Hazy Sensuality. I immediately thought of Honeymoon. I'm like, okay, this reminds me of Honeymoon. Honeymoon is also a wet dry formula and a beautiful, beautiful quad. If you don't own it, it's one I would recommend. I really like it. Now the pink shade in here I think is going to be very different, but yeah, I mean it's okay. Well, you'll see it in a second, but yeah, it's like a deeper. Honeymoon is like the deeper, like smokier older sister of Hazy Sensuality. Yeah, I'm not making any sense. I really need some sleep. Okay, so here's Hazy Sensuality and here's Honeymoon. Can you see what I'm talking about? Like it's the same kind of like, because this has like this deeper, almost, it's got like almost like a burgundy in it. And the brown is much cooler, almost purple. But these two shades are like the deeper version of these two shades. This pink and Hazy Sensuality is like, this is like a deeper, more intense version of that. And the brown is, again, it's more like this color. It's more like the one in Nude Dip. It's much cooler, much grayer. Yeah, which is really interesting. It's a warmer palette. Honeymoon is warmer. So I don't know. It's not exactly like any of these, but I think you guys are right, as in, you know, you could merge a couple of these together and get Hazy Sensuality, which is not a surprise. Hazy Sensuality, Insolent Rose, Nude Dip, First Frost, and Honeymoon. Pull it back so you guys can see it all together. So my final thoughts about this, as I said in my intro, a little bit of a spoiler, but in case you didn't want to sit through the whole thing, I really like this quad. I did not expect to. I think it's really pretty. I like the pink in here. There's something about this pink that appeals to me. It's because it has this sort of, it's a more nuanced pink. It's a little bit deeper. It has a little bit of warmth, a little bit of purple. It's not a pure pink. And when I was putting it on my lid, I was like, wow, that actually is nice. There's something about it that I think is just a little bit different, and I like it. The brown shade in here is warmer than many of the others that you see. Like in here, like in Honeymoon, this shade and this shade aren't that different. But the deepest shade in Honeymoon is much cooler. Same with First Frost. Same with Insolent Rose, and same with Nude Dip. The deepest shade is definitely cooler. I think the warmth of the brown in here is what I like about it. Like, it doesn't lean too cool. It kind of balances the pink, which not everyone will like, because some people will want that grayer, you know, deeper brown. I like the warmth of it. I think it looks good on me, and I like that kind of, and I also think it gives me contrast. The two lightest shades, again, very pretty shades. They do remind me very much of the two shades that are in Nude Dip. What I would say is that if it were me and I was designing this quad, which I of course did not, I would have gone with these three shades. These three shades, and then this, I can't even function. These three shades, and then this one, the brightest one, the one that has like a little bit of like goldy kind of platinum, I would have made that like an ice white, like a really, really impactful platinum white shade. Because I feel like this one, it is really pretty, and I think it does look nice, but I think it would be more of a contrast if it was like icy white. And for Hazy Sensuality, I think if you made it almost like a smoky white, I think with, you know, shimmer, just like this one is, I don't know, I think that would be more impactful. Plus it would be more different, good John, more different than the pinkier, you know, shimmery shade. Like, these look so similar, especially when it's dry. When it's wet, yes, I think you can see more of a demarcation, but when it's dry, they look very, very similar. So I wish there was more of that in there. But, you know, that being said, I really like this, which is a shock because I thought I was going to spend $90 and never use it again. So this is nice. Yeah, I really like it. I could see me using this dry, just like it is, and then taking, like, leaving a space kind of in the middle, like a halo eye, and using this, like, pinkish shimmery shade wet, like, on the lid. I think that would be really nice, which is kind of what I did here, but I did over the pink. I could also see me absolutely using that pink all over the eye, like I started here, wet, because it's just a really, I don't know, I really like it. It's a unique shade, and it's intense, which is, and not spotty or patchy or anything. So yeah, all in all, I give this, I definitely recommend it. Again, the $90 thing, I think prices have gotten out of hand. If you were to ask me, do you think it's worth $90? I can't. That's, you know, that's a very subjective question. It depends on what $90, how you view $90. I think it's a lot of money for an eyeshadow palette. I will say I think this has some versatility because I think the brown can be used separately because it's a really warm brown. I think you could use it with the lightest, like this has a little bit more golden in it. A little more peach is what I'm looking for. Like these two shades, I think you get like a warm shade. I think you can use this by itself. It is the wet dry formula, so you can go very soft. You could go, you know, much more intense. Again, I use natural hair brushes here, so you could go much softer than this. This is a more intense version of the dry. I tend to use natural brushes with Tom Ford. That's how wet dry formula. Just from the get-go, I use natural hair brushes. I use synthetic and natural hair on this side because I was wetting the brushes, and some natural hair brushes, you don't want to do that. So again, I think you can do a very, very soft look with this, a very springy, like very soft, like pink. Or I think you can do a very intense, very metallic, very impactful look with it, which gives it some diversity, which I do appreciate for the $90 that we're paying for it. I think that's it. So hopefully all that was helpful. Again, when I have the other two, I will put them side by side so you can, I'll do a video just like this for each one of them, but I'll also put them side by side and tell you which one is my favorite out of the three of them. I have not watched anybody else's videos on these. I try very hard not to watch other people's videos before I at least play with the makeup, because even subconsciously, like if something leaks into your brain, oh, these other people hated it, how can I like it? Or these other people loved it, I should like, I should really try hard not to do that. I know my friend Sophia has all three and did a video. I'm sure it's a fantastic video because Sophia always does a fantastic job. So once I have the other two, I'll go watch hers and a whole bunch of other people's. But what I would say is I think if the formula is the same for all three, I'll at least be happy with that. The color stories, I'm really surprised I like this one, because the one that appealed to me off the bat was the golden hour one, because it's more warm leaning. I tend to go with that. Who knows? Maybe I'm just getting accustomed to like cooler shades and I like those now. I have no idea. It could be. But yeah, I'm really pleasantly surprised by this and how much I like it. So that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. And I hope to see you in another video really soon. Bye.